Peace and wellness, family. What have I told you that the brain prefers familiar suffering instead of uncertain change? Welcome to my channel. My name is Monte. I make mental, physical, and emotional wellness videos. Allows to dive in. Today we'll deal with the integrating of one's self. And far too many of us are not engaged in driving our lives with our internal compass because we have been socialized, programmed to fit in to the external compass of the society at large. And this in and of itself is not a bad thing if it is balanced. The objection comes in when we realize that most of what we are doing throughout our day is to satisfy the needs of external situations and beings. We're not operating from the compass that is within us. We're not operating and doing the things that we want to do. And this causes a chaotic stress within the human organism. Carl Jung has stated that when we do not successfully integrate our own wants and desires into our daily interactions, that the self becomes irritated and the persona becomes the dominant expression of our being. And remember, the persona is only a mask so that we can fit into external situations that were created for us. So it is not the real you and I. And this is why you see such a collapse in the mental and emotional health of Americans. Those who appear to have the material trappings, the wealth, and all those things that look good, that shine, that say, I am successful, but internally they are bleeding out on the mental and emotional level. This is because they have bought the illusion that fulfillment is in performance. Superficial being continuing to grind hard to impress others or to feel and keep up with others. And this is the fatal flaw in the American societal norms. They have pushed us to the point where we are constantly in competition, constantly comparing, constantly trying to chase and achieve external validation. And there's nothing wrong with external validation. But if that is the driving source behind whether or not you feel good about yourself, you are in a world of trouble. I've heard it said that the diamond is a girl's best friend. If diamonds are your girl's best friend, you need to run and run away fast, because that's a shallow state of existence. That is an existence that is based on external material things that have very little value or no value when it comes to the fulfillment of the internal soul. We have to fulfill the soul in order to feel good about ourselves and be able to maintain that state of good feeling in spite of circumstances that are outside of us. If we are not in a state of internal self-enhancement from the inside, then we are vulnerable and subject to the external likes, dislikes, approvals, disapprovals that will shape our mood. Now you and I are slaves to others' opinions, to others' validations, to others' goals and desires, and to others' values. And if you and I are that individual, you and I are an individual that has an internal conflict, because there could be no peace on the inside. Any human being who is dependent on outside external things to make them feel good. These things can add on, but they can never fulfill. These things can be useful, but they are not the goal. They are not the journey, but they have been placed in front of us as the goal, because this society wants to make us consummate consumers. This society wants us to remain mentally and emotionally attached to things in order to get cheap dopamine hits, in order to feel good about ourselves. And this ensures that they will be able to continue to sell us anything, and we will continue to pursue those things in order to feel good. and it will only be a brief moment of feeling good. It will wear off, and you will have to chase another external factor in order to feel good internally, and that's a recipe for depression, anxiety, fear, aggression, anger, apathy, anything that you could think of that is detrimental to the human organism. And this is why you and I, again, must understand that the social mask, the persona, those things that we utilize in order to fit in to equations, that we separate that from the true identity of who we are. And that true identity must be integrated and must be the lead. The persona must be the background dancer and only used when appropriate for that social situation, only to fit in to a particular situation at a particular time. But it is not you. It is not who you become. It is a tool used to navigate successfully within this capitalistic society. So again, one thing we must understand is the brain loves or would prefer familiar suffering to unfamiliar and uncertain change. And we have to be able to understand that in order to be able to persist in the direction that we are going when we're making that change, because we're working against what the brain wants until we master that and force the brain to accept that this is the new path. And you and I, we have the ability to do that. The brain is your servant if you understand, but it is your master if you don't. And depending on who programmed your brain and what you have allowed to program your brain unconsciously, that will dominate your life until you and I become the masters of our brain, become united with our true self, the internal God. Then you and I will be fulfilled human beings in spite of external circumstances.